gym, then slay. From the field to the court, we make them say, pretty fierce, tough chicks lead the way. Hooray. Lay, 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 lay.
Welcome back to Locker Talk. Of course, it is your prettiest host, Pretty Girl Des, with Pretty Girls of Sports, and we're here with Locker Talk. You know, this month and the past couple series, we have been talking about none other than March Madness, and we are finally at the Final Four. So the teams have made it through rounds and rounds of the most craziest and dramatic games that we've seen in quite some time. The men were trying to get back to getting their views back up because, you know, the last 2 years, women's basketball has really taken it. They've taken it, honey. So the men were trying to do their thing. So we had a lot of different surprises, a lot of different things going on. We had some coaches spewing out some hateful things, but nonetheless, we are at the Final Four. And I'm so excited to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get into it. As I said, welcome back to Locker Talk. I am Des. If I see you straight ahead, you are on YouTube. Hey, y'all. And if I see you over here and you see this is flipped, because for some reason, maybe I gotta turn live to me. Because if I turn live to me, then you'll see my sign regular. But if I turn it to me, whatever. Anyway, you're here on Instagram, and I'm going to chop this thing up, put it over there on the tick to the talk. But anywho, we're going to jump into these topics. I'm going to try to make it not so much of a yap. It's always a yap. I don't know why. I get over here and lie to y'all every time. I'm not going to get over here yap. I'm going to yap, child. That's just what I do. That's what I do. I yaps it up, okay? But I'm super excited to jump into these things. I'm going to start with women's basketball because I just feel like every other video I've always started with the men's basketball, and I just want to start with women this time. My brackets are behind me. The one that I did on my own with my own predictions are here, and then the actual factual one is here. The men is on the one side, and the women's is on the other side. I actually like my actual. This one is the men's basketball here. I actually like the women's bracket and how they did it. So on my actual one here, it is on the back. It looks so much neater. I feel like for the women, and I don't know why it is, but it just looks better. But anywho, our Final Four teams for women's basketball is there one on here that I projected not to be on here? I feel like there's so many brackets that I've done. I have to just keep going. I had South Carolina, Duke, Texas, Notre Dame. Notre Dame did lose. They lost to TCU, kind of messed up my bracket a little bit. But I did think that they were going to get to Final Four because I thought that they would edge out Texas slightly. So Texas is that surprise team there. And then I told you guys when JUJU got hurt and went down, obviously I didn't change my actual bracket, but I had physically at that point changed my mind. And I thought that UConn was going to take it. And UConn has just been looking dominant, super duper dominant. Paige has shown up and did what she does, dominates the game. She doesn't just come to play, as I said before in my other video. She comes to dominate, and she has done that just. So South Carolina will be facing Texas, and UCLA will be facing UConn. A lot of things going on with the women's basketball on that side of the bunch. So South Carolina, obviously, I had them making it to the top two, period. One of my brackets, I have them winning it all. And then the other bracket, I had USC winning it all. So now USC is just clearly out of the picture. So South Carolina is the only one that I had winning it all out of all three of my brackets that I've done. Just keeping it a bean, right? However, South Carolina has shown a lot of different struggles. They've played well, but they haven't played as great as I feel like we've seen them play before. They are a spectacular team. And there was such an argument on Threads, and I think it was on Twitter how they were like, there's no All-Americans on South Carolina's team. They're all averaging, 20 points or whatever the argument was. And you have to look at the retrospect of this team. This team doesn't have All-Americans, but literally about their whole roster is honorable mentions for the All-Americans. And that's because they are a unified team. They are a unified group. They all have to play well in order for the whole cohesiveness to work. So no, you don't have one person that's the all-out standout on the team. And then you're looking at a situation like USC, no Pitino shade. But when JUJU went down, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, things have completely changed. She holds up that team. Fortunately for South Carolina, they have so many people that they can pull off the bench. The depth of the bench is one thing to where you definitely see that they all have multiple stars on the team. They are missing Ashley, and Ashley is a part. When she's there, the defensive side is a little bit better, in my opinion. But they still cohesively have a team that if one player is out or if one player is not playing well, you're going to sit on that bench and we're going to throw somebody else in, and they're going to pick the game up and continue it to lead to the success that we have seen over and over in this tournament. So that's exactly what's been going on. So the argument like they don't have All-Americans, so what? They don't need all of Americans. What they need is a national championship. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to get to. So the argument about that is just we don't want to hear it. Okay. The people that support head coach Jon Scheyer and the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Lady Gamecocks, we support them because of how well and cohesive they are, how much of a team that they are. We love Dons, they care. Okay, get into it. But South Carolina is facing teams that they actually did face losses to. So the Final Four teams are all teams that South Carolina at one point had a struggle against. So, and the biggest thing now is, are they going to face that UCLA team that knocked them off? And UCLA beat them 62-77. And that's when UCLA had bumped up to that first seed in the AP polls and everything. So it was like, whoa. That was the first, like, hold on, what's going on, Gamecocks? What is happening? So will they face them at head-to-head in the final match? I feel like that'll be a good rematch game. Like, you need to go get you some. Go get you some. You got UCLA got Betts over there. And I do want to apologize. I was saying her name was Laura and it's Lauren. My bad, y'all. Y'all was in the comments, especially on the tick to the talk. Y'all was over there in my throat. My bad. I'm sorry. I thought it was my bad. I'm just going to call it Betts so I don't mess it up. Okay. But you got her there. She's been leading the team and carrying the team. And again, she's one of the ones that reminds me of that USC team. Like, if that's not playing that well, the other players on the team have to pick it up. And it's like, okay, well, we see that head-to-head rematch there, but they're going to have to get through UConn. And UConn is just, they put in BTA, if you know what I mean. If you know, you know. I'm not going to say it on here, though. But South Carolina played Texas, won one game, lost one game, and then they also played UConn. UConn, to me, was their worst loss. They lost to UConn, I had up here, on February 16th. They lost 58-87. Yeah. So, yeah. I know that they've gotten better since then. They can definitely handle them. But like I said, right now, UConn performatively, in my opinion, looks like the national champion. But obviously, I'm rooting for South Carolina. They got some working out to do. Moving on, though, JUJU did win both the AP Player of the Year. Let me go back because I'm gonna have to clip that. I was talking too fast. JUJU did win the AP Player of the Year as well as the Naismith Player of the Year. So although she did face that injury, really she's shown all season why she is the top player right now for women's basketball, and rightfully so. We give it to her. So congratulations to her with that win. And then you have UCLA's head coach, Cori Close, Close. I'm just messing up. I don't know why. I have this stuff written down and my brain is just like moving too fast than my mouth. And I'm thinking about what I'm saying and then I'm saying it. And it's just crazy. But you know what? I'm not perfect. Okay? And we're going to just get it and we're going to do what we got. So here we are. UCLA's head coach, Cori, close, did win both of these Coach of the Year awards with the AP as well as the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. So she just took the sweep. Her and JUJU doing the thing. LA showing up. Okay, California is doing what needs to be done. As you know, UCLA is making their very first Final Four appearance. So that's why that was part of that winning of Coach of the Year. But really, she's done amazing things for UCLA. And it's a big congratulations to that. All right, moving on, because apparently I can't talk about the awards. My mouth doesn't want to say it. So moving on, we're going to be talking about the portal, the WNBA draft, and all of that good stuff here. So Flau'jae is not going into the WNBA draft. I kind of felt that was coming. I didn't think that, when she had her injury and everything, I just feel like she wants to continue to play basketball. She just wants to continue to be her best self. And she got it pretty good. If we're being honest, she got it pretty good. So if I could stay another year too, I would. If it was me, if I was her, you know what I'm saying? So she's staying another year, is going to play. They said that she was, at one point they were like, she can return to LSU or she go to transfer portal. And I was like, I know darn well she is not getting in that transfer portal. And then there's another article was like, oh, she's going back to LSU. But my thing is, she had a good at LSU. She has a good right now with the NIL deal stuff. And she's also dating one of the football players. So to me, it just makes sense of why you want to stay where you are. Obviously, I'm not saying that she's staying there because she is dating someone on the football team. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying she has a really good connection. She has a really good coach there. She does and is really good at LSU. So I don't see why she would want to join the transfer portal. But again, that's just my opinion with that. But so far, so good. She's going back. Go Tigers for her. And then the transfer portal is just going up and crazy. Obviously, there are some people that like the transfer portal. Obviously, there's some people that are just like, the transfer portal. I don't like how the transfer portal is going on while the tournament is going on. That to me just leads to a lot of different confusion, in my opinion. Could we not just wait until the national championship and all that was done and then open up the transfer portal and then close it? It does close on April 22nd, but still, it's just a little bit too much going on. We've seen people go into the transfer portal, people that are leaving FSU and they're going over to LSU, people that are it's just too much going on. And maybe it's just for me because I want to focus on everything. I want to focus on the transfer portal. I want to see where players are going, but I also need to focus and pay attention to the tournament, especially with me doing men and women's. I gotta focus, and it's just too much. But I did find it kind of telling, and I know people were up in arms and people were like, whoa, because Howard University's women's basketball coach, Ty Grace, had some tweets, honey. She had something to say about the transfer portal and everything. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. People get mad about certain things. People are in an uproar about everything, child. You say you don't like somebody's sneakers, and then they saying, oh, you're against them. No, I just don't like their sneakers. Like, it's just, I can't have my opinions. And that's why I always got to say, in my opinion. Okay? Because they'll be going crazy. But she tweeted out, first one's, in the transfer portal, or she's a transfer portal, but in the portal, because we call it the portal, in the portal, but not in the gym, wild times we live in. Does she got a point or no? Does she got a point or no? And then she says, changing schools and not your bad habits, scary. But is she lying though? Ooh, but is she lying though? She not lying. She not lying. A lot of times, the athletes enter the portal because they want money. I'm trying to get paid. I want the money. And I get it. It's all about money now. It's not about performing. It's not about being a part of a legacy program. It's not about, to some, I'm not going to say all, to some, it's not about building yourself in a program and building that program and being the best player that you could be. Is where I can go to get paid the most money and stack up and do whatever you need to do. And a lot of coaches are now, you've seen are retiring because they're like, this NIL portal thing is it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. I've been said there needs to be regulations on the portal, on NIL deals and things. I'm not saying I feel like I gotta say this every time because somebody will be in my comments like, like, I didn't say that. That's all I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's getting out of hand. What I'm saying is we're losing the quality that we used to have in our athletes. We're losing the hard work. We're losing the playing to get better, being in the gym to better yourself. We are losing the creating good habits and getting rid of our bad habits because it's so easy for them to just jump in a portal and somebody else is going to take them and be like, we don't care about your habits. Continue to be who you are. We don't care if you've got bad grades. We don't care if you have a bad attitude. We don't care if you're not a team player. We just want you to get on this team. We'll pay all this money for you to win. That's really what it's coming down to. I'm not saying that the student shouldn't be compensated in some way, but what I'm saying is it's now getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. Too out of hand. And again, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion, but my opinion is my opinion. And I said what I said. Okay? So some people up in arms, child, she put it on Twitter and they was just like, oh, she shouldn't. But she has a point. Maybe it's but the thing is, you don't want coaches to say nothing. You don't want coaches to speak up. You don't want coaches to feel no type of way. If they say in a press conference or a meeting that, it's getting really, really hard out here to get quality players and to get coachable players because everybody wants to deal and everybody wants to have their hand in the NIL pool and everybody's just thinking about money and they're not actually thinking about the sport. They actually work their butts off and work their tails off all their life to get here to play. They don't care about that no more. It's just about show me the money. And there's also a flip side to that transfer portal. You know how many kids are in the transfer portal right now? It's not a guarantee that you're going to make it out the portal. You leave in a program because you feel as though, well, I didn't get the playing time that I wanted to get. So I'm leaving to go get playing time and to get some money. But what if you don't get picked up from the portal? And then what? And then what happens? If you love to play the game and you're at a program that's pretty decent, or that is good, because you got players leaving really good programs to go to other programs that are just like, so the grass is not always greener on the other side. Sometimes the grass is greener where you water it. You're leaving and maybe you were playing, all 4 quarters. Maybe you were playing, or 2 halves if you're in men's basketball, 4 quarters if you're in football, 4 quarters if you're in basketball and other things. But if you went from having, playing time to you now going to a different school, yeah, you're getting money, but you only playing for 5 minutes. Like, it's just getting out of hand. And I'm going to move on so we can talk about men's basketball so I can get up off of here. But transfer portal is going up on a Tuesday, real crazy. Men's basketball, before I get into the tournament stuff, I do want to say a few days ago, there was the 41 years ago moment. So bringing back history. I always feel like I want to talk about historical pieces whenever I'm on here blabbing around in my mouth, because it's not just about my opinions and the news and updates on stuff. Sometimes it also is about history. So with history, 41 years ago, which was like a couple days ago, but still we're in 41 years, the head coach for Georgetown, let me scroll up. Let me go right here. John Thompson became the first Black head coach to win an NCAA championship with Georgetown in 1984. A little bit background about head coach Thompson, and may he continue to lay in rest in peace. But he played with Providence College, and he won the NIT championship in 1963 and he was an All-American. He went on to play with the Boston Celtics, and he was the backup to Bill Russell. Y'all know that name. And they won 2 championships while he was on the team. He transitioned to coaching in 1972 when he went to Georgetown and really changed that program into being a powerhouse basketball team. And as I said, they won a title in 1984. So 41 years ago, that was the celebration, and that was the abundance and the beauty of seeing the first Black head coach win an NCAA championship title. So I did want to drop that little bits and pieces of history because it's super important that we continue to know and understand the people who are paving the way and making it open doors, and who have opened doors and created space for underprivileged athletes, for Black and brown athletes, and just Black and brown coaches in general. So I think that was just super important. And I did want to touch on that. As I said before, may he continue to rest and lay in peace. Moving on to the Final Four for the men's, you have, as I expected, summer bracket, so whatever, Duke, Houston, Florida, Auburn. As I projected, these were going to be the Final Four. I feel great about that. I feel great. So Houston did beat my Vols, yeah. I felt like that was coming. Tennessee did not make their history of getting to the Final Four, so they still are just going to hope and pray that next year I can get to the Final Four. You know, rooting for them. Okay? And for the men's basketball side, this will be the first year that one coach gets their very first NCAA championship title. All 4 of the coaches are either new to the Final Four, new to the team, new to whatever. New. This is going to be their very first titles. I think that is so awesome and so very, very cool, if you ask me. Or getting to see somebody new being put on that national platform, really putting out their coaching skills, whether they're veterans and they've been there for 30 seasons or they just been there for 1, 2, 4, 5, a little. You know, I think that's super awesome. The Auburn head coach, Bruce Pearl, and St. John's head coach, we talked about him before, Rick Pitino, were honored by the AP, which is the Associate Press, for Men's College Basketball Coach of the Year. So they are co-winners for Coach of the Year, and rightfully so. I definitely think that Auburn's head coach did amazing and has been amazing through this entire program, from last year's tournament to just continue to build up a program that is worth talking about, worth seeing, and just worth having the excitement around. He's definitely done that, and he's very passionate about the team and what he does, and that's what you need in this space. You need a passionate coach that really cares about the program, really cares about the quality, really cares about the winning of the coach. And I can honestly say I feel like all 4 of the coaches for the men's that are in this Final Four are all the same way, in my opinion, from what I've seen from them, what I've heard from them, what I've read about them. All those things are, that's just the one thing, the one quality that they all have together. So I think that's just super cool, super awesome. Jon Scheyer receives the John McLendon National Coach of the Year Award, and that is the Duke's men's basketball head coach. Rightfully so. Going back to everything I just said about the Auburn coach, I said the same thing about the Duke's coach, period. Moving on. We have one more topic. Talk about the Final Four. So I seen Duke definitely getting there. I feel like Duke performatively, especially with Cooper Flag right now, I definitely feel like they are the team to beat. I feel like they are looking like the national champion. But I also have Florida on my list because I feel like Florida just plays with a certain level of dominance. I think it'll be really cool and really awesome to see Florida versus Duke at that final 2. And one of them like out edges the other at the last few seconds to win the game. I feel like that would be a really close game, really like on your edge, on the edge of your seat. Like your heart got palpitations and things because you're trying to figure out who's going to win. The Duke fan base is super duper passionate, super duper passionate. Have you ever seen them? Have you seen them? With the baby and the Duke, it's a sight to see. If you haven't seen it or haven't checked it out, watch when they play Houston or even such, just go back to some of their regular home games and watch how the crowd is. The crowd is, they go hard. Okay. And the Gator fans are chomping. They doing what needs to be done over there. Their basketball team is doing phenomenal. So they're also really passionate of a fan base. So that's why I think it'd be a great like final. Ooh, that'd be a great matchup there, because at the end of the day, like I said, one is going to out edge the other and win. Now, I'm not saying that Auburn and them can't pull it out. I'm not saying that they can't do it. But I am saying that it's looking like Florida could out edge them again, as they did for the SEC championship game. But as we've been seeing, the teams that lose to that team that they've lost before to during the season, they come back and they figure it out and they win. So we have the rematch of the SEC championship with Florida and Auburn, and I think that's going to be something and a sight to definitely see. I know I haven't talked much about Houston. I like Houston. I've always liked Houston. I've always been rooting for Houston for the past 2, or it may actually be 3 now. It may actually be 3. I have rooted for Houston, and Houston they have let me down every time. So now I'm like, well, if I don't root for them, maybe something happens. I don't know. But I feel like they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have a very hard time beating this Duke team. Really hard time. So we just have to wait and see. But my prediction is that it's going to be Florida versus Duke. And it's either going to be the Gators are going to chomp that Blue Devil, or the Blue Devil is going to spear and stick that Gator. I don't know. For women's Final Four, I see South Carolina, and I want to say, part of me wants to say UConn, but part of me feel like UCLA is going to out-edge out, because they're on like, even though they were a higher seed, they're still on this like Cinderella story, first Final Four and all this other stuff. So I don't know. I feel like the women's is a little bit harder to gauge now, because you really have the best 4 teams in the country, both sides. But really, for the women, the best 4 teams in the country. I don't know. I feel like Paige and UConn is going to out-edge them a little bit. And then it's going to be UConn versus South Carolina. And then it's going to be the rematch, another rematch. No matter what. If South Carolina gets there, and no matter if they face whatever team, it's going to be a rematch. If they face UCLA, that's going to be a big rematch. But if they also face UConn, it's a big rematch for them too, because they lost poorly. So I don't know. I feel like South Carolina needs a redemption, and how they redeem themselves is beating one of these 2 teams. First of all, beating Texas, and then beating one of these 2 teams to become the national champion. And I said what I said, and that's it. That's all. I'm going to get off of here, because I was not supposed to be on here for 27 minutes. I was supposed to be here for 20 minutes. But I got the yapping, and I be yapping. And that's why y'all love me, though, because that's why I love y'all. But anyway, I'm going to hop off of here. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing and or following on all social media platforms at PG Love Sports. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.